David Hockney, maybe best known, I think definitely best known as a painter. There's actually a big show, I think still up right now, in New York. Where is it? I don't remember. I think maybe it's at the Frick. Um, Worth going to see. He makes an incredibly wide range of types of work. He does stuff with like on his iPad. It's so good. He has some video work. I have a link to it on the website. It is a video that is um, frankly, perhaps my second favorite piece of video art of all time. It's really, really good. So he started out making these images using Polaroid, right? So these are each individual Polaroid pictures that are then assembled into this grid, right? And taking a picture with a Polaroid, it's like you take a picture, right? And it comes out, take the next picture, and he's getting really close, right? If you think about like that Polaroid there is just the eye and the nose, right? So he's very magnified vision in what he's taking a picture of, and it's a very sort of deliberate process of figuring out, okay, well, what do I need to get next? What are the important elements? Where do I want the seams to be? What do I want to have entirely within the frame? What do I want to have go across the frame? There's this level of abstraction where it's like, okay, well, back there, it's canvases, right? So maybe these are the same canvas repeating 5 times. We don't really know. Like over here, it's like, okay, that's just wall, right? It's like picture, picture, picture of wall. Like, okay, plop, 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 plop. All right, done. We filled in that part of the final image with wallness, canvasness, ceilingness, whatever it is. These sort of moments where like the person is looking and then looking down, right? This sort of effort to kind of make a contiguous shape, right? Have these some lines connect versus areas where, again, right, it sort of flattens out and it's just him showing us that it's floor rather than the sort of like intensity of, these two faces sort of glancing at each other. So he starts out doing the Polaroid thing, right? And there are these great moments of time being shown, duration being shown, right? Where they're looking at Polaroids in the Polaroid picture. These like moments of duplication or repetition where we see the face more than once. We see the hands multiple times. They sort of build up an importance. But we still have this very sort of formal overlying grid that's created by the frames of the Polaroid. And then he makes this jump into using just like 4x6 machine prints, drugstore prints. And so he moves away from the Polaroid and away from that grid, and now the images are overlapping, right? And so you no longer have this big rectangle shape. Now you have this sort of like ragged edge going around. And you can get like, a bunch of prints and they're really cheap and you can just like put them together however you want. And they can layer one on top of another and one can obscure one a little bit. Another one can peek out a little bit. And there are these moments of inconsistency with like the processing or whatever, or the exposure that are not from the camera, but are just from like whatever crummy lab he's using. And then you can get this depiction of this space. And so now we have this whole room, right? And again, right, that idea of a little piece standing in for the whole. Like, what are the important elements to convey the room? Okay, well, this chandelier is something, all right, I need to have that in there. So I'm going to get that. Okay, and this ceiling up here, I don't really care. I didn't photograph that, or maybe I forgot, right? Like maybe I forgot one of these pieces down here in this image in the foreground. He's able to get, sort of like a really wide field of view by taking all of these little pieces and putting them together, right? Everything is sort of all in focus, right? He's able to choose what are the important elements, right? Like get the glasses, okay. Get the book review, okay. Get the chandelier, right? Get the ashtray over there. Like what's over here? I don't know. He didn't think it was important, so there's no photograph of it, right? And then how does it lay out overall on this board, right? Like things are sort of like fragmenting, bending away. This is like shooting off at some weird angle. This thing here shooting off at some weird angle. So it becomes a process of after the fact composition, putting them all together. It also becomes like a little craftiness, right? Where he's like glue sticking or I don't know, rubber cementing, whatever he did back then, all of these images together, right? You think about Luther Canado and how he's taping those things together, right? Or the sewn pictures. So there is a handworkness. There is a lack of being so precious with these like garbagey prints stuck on this board. Right? One of the things to think about as a photographer when you're making this, because again, this is in the style that we're going to be working this week, right? These machine print, collaged pictures, that's what we're going to be doing as a technique, is that if I want a picture that my entire frame is cat, sorry for the low res, I need to be really like zoomed in on that cat to make that picture, right? We end up with a very wide field of view in the final shot, but each of those individual frames is super, super tight. So when you're making these, you need to be getting up close to stuff. You need to have, if you have a long lens, like zooming way in, to be able to get all of those different pieces. Again, also, you should probably sketch out what overall you want to have so that you can make sure, okay, if I know I want to have that whole couch, that you have enough pieces of the whole couch to be able to assemble it later, right? Shoot more than you think you need. Right? Here we have these great moments where it's like, okay, well, these are clearly out of scale a little bit, but the photographs are starting to become a source material, right? The photographs are starting to become something that he uses to assemble this larger image, right? This, sort of like whatever street stuff down there, are these, repeating the same picture of a piece of street and just like filling it in? I don't know. Would it matter? I don't think so. Sorry, I skipped it first time because I knew it repeated. All right, this map, this foreground, the presence of him, the photographer in the frame, these sort of rays of things coming out, right? All of these decisions about what's important to be included, which is different from how if you just took a single picture, right? If I take a single picture, everything's included, right? There's an implication, certainly, that everything can be seen in that photograph, even though we know, right, if I'm looking at one side, I can't see the back. Here, we're consciously saying, okay, I want to put this part, right? I want to put this track for this sliding screen in my photograph, right? I want to have this map, my hand, in this photograph. Right? I want to have this outdoor part. I want to make sure that I get this person in these poses in my photograph. So